Welcome to the Excuse Smashers podcast.
Hey, this is Tim Kaufman. Thank you so much for joining me as I talk to some of the most amazing people on the planet about excuses and why they didn't let excuses hold them back from a plant-based lifestyle. So sit down, buckle up, and hang on as my guests show you how to
Smash excuses.
I try not to edit anything except the beginning and the end, but all right, hold on. Now I lost my timer. Sorry.
It's all right.
Oh, see, I just learned how the timer works, so that's cool. All right, we're going. Oh, we're already going, so I'm going to start right now. Hi, Denise. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Tim.
So, so the first thing I would like to do is, most of the time a whole podcast is dedicated to sharing your story. So this is a little different. If you could just take the next 5 minutes and just explain to us how a plant-based lifestyle has changed your life.
Oh man, plant-based lifestyle has basically given me my life back. It's a complete change from where I was before. Besides losing 235 pounds,
Wow.
I also eliminated migraines. I used to get migraines all the time. I was taking daily medicines for it. Had to give myself injections for it when I did get them, which was a lot. And I had so many migraines, and I had one for like 2 weeks one time, so bad that I seriously wanted to kill myself. It was that bad. I didn't want to keep on living with that. So I eliminated all the migraines, eliminated GERD, plantar fasciitis, sleep apnea. I don't have to wear a CPAP mask anymore. I mean, and not just like the physical stuff, but like emotional too. I have so much more joy and a zest for life, and just, wanting to go out and live life and help others and bring them along with me. So, I mean, it's been a huge change.
Nice, thanks. What about medically, the GERD? Did you have anything else other than the GERD?
I did, but I mean, because I was on so many prescription medicines, but it's been like almost 4 years now. I can't remember how long it's been. I was starting to lose track.
Right.
But yeah, I was on so many different prescriptions, and I was pre-diabetic. They were wanting me to start taking medicines for it and stuff, and I was like, no, I didn't want to do that. I'm trying to think what else I had. High blood pressure.
Cholesterol?
Yeah, high cholesterol, all that stuff that comes with being, I mean, I was almost 500 pounds.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the last time I remember weighing myself, I was 421 pounds. And I didn't look at a scale again after that until I started at Weight Watchers. I started it with Weight Watchers. I didn't start plant-based at first, but it evolved into it.
Well, that's awesome, and congratulations. That's amazing.
Thanks.
Okay, so I hear this excuse all the time, and this is usually how it goes. Some kind of version of this. I know I need to get healthy. I would do the whole plant-based thing, but I know my spouse would never join me, and my spouse isn't on board, so there's no way I could do it. So why do you think that I'm asking you to smash this excuse?
Well, because I smashed it. I mean, I've been doing it now, probably for about 4 years. I can't remember the exact date. I knew it was in July. I'm wanting to say 2013, so it's been about 4 years. And yeah, I smashed it because he wasn't on board with it. He didn't want anything to do with it. Anytime I would ask him to show some interest in it, or even watch a documentary with me or something, he'd actually leave the room. He didn't want to have anything to do with it. He wasn't, in the beginning, he wasn't supportive at all. He would try and sabotage me with my favorite foods, or our favorite foods that we used to eat together. And I smashed it. I did it.
That's awesome. So along that same lines, can you give some examples of how this, especially in the beginning? I'm sure now you're kind of used to it, but in the beginning, what were some of the challenges, real life examples of what you went through to get over this?
Oh, well, I mean, that was our thing that we did together was watch movies and order pizza and, get Dairy Queen and stuff. So like when I changed, he wasn't ready to change. And, you can't force somebody to do it. So you just got to let them do what they do and you do what you do. But there would be times where we would be watching a movie and he'd be eating a pizza or he'd be eating my favorite ice cream or, he would eat the stuff that we normally ate together in front of me. And I mean, it's hard when you're trying to change and you know that the plant-based lifestyle is good for you, but then you see somebody eating your favorite food and you want that instant gratification right then and right there. So to like sit there and watch him eat it, there were many times that I wanted to punch him in the throat for eating in front of me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult because you remember what it tasted like and how you felt, a lot of emotions that are attached to those kinds of foods. And you just know that for me, I'm a all or nothing type of person. So I can't, and that's what he used to like get me on all the time. Just have a little bit. It's not going to hurt you to have a little bit here and there. And the more I started getting into it and the more weight I started losing, he would tell me I'm getting too skinny and, trying to encourage me to eat those foods again. And I just had to be strong and say no.
Do you think it did it get easier till now? Like now, is it just something that you ignore or?
Yeah, it's something I ignore now. I mean, now I'm to the point where it's not my food.
Right.
I look at it and it's not my food. So it's not even at home. It's not a problem. Like there have been times where I've been at work or at a party or something and they have like the whole spread of all the foods I used to eat. And I'd be like, oh man, that looks good. That smells good. I can remember a couple of times walking into the break room at work and there'd be like trays of cookies and stuff. And I'd be like, I'm looking around. I'm like, nobody will know I ate it, you know?
Yeah.
But now I just tell myself it's not my food. It's not worth it, So I just, now it's gotten super easy.
Yeah. And I think like there's a lot of us in the same position. Where we're addicts, we're food addicts, and for me, I know I always will be. And you think that you're, even if you have a really like for me, if I have a good run or something, well, I can kind of back off a little bit. But when you go to eat that food that you used to love so much, and even if you had enough self-control to eat that little bit, for me it just opens the floodgates because I don't have an off switch.
Right.
And, my mind just can't say, I could have one cookie and that's it. I can't do that.
Right.
And then you have to start that whole thing over again. We're trying to like, I don't want to say detox, but trying to get rid of those, heightened tastes. So it's definitely easier to just abstinence it's so much easier to just not touch it at all.
Right. Yeah. Plus, I've seen friends of mine that, did the plant-based lifestyle with me and lost a bunch of weight and went back to, eating those foods again. And it was a slippery slope and they slid all the way down the hill. And, I'm like, I don't want that to happen to me. I just remind myself what it was like being, almost 500 pounds and how I felt and how I didn't want to live. And if I ever think that I could handle the one cookie again, I'm like, no. Go back and look at my fat pictures again. I'll go back to myself,
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about with you is, and I think this is the most important. What are some of the tools? I mean, it's got to be tough, especially like it sounds like that you guys used food as entertainment, and that's what we did too. And I think that's kind of how you grow up. Like everything you do, every party, everywhere you go, from church to anything, is always associated with food. Something's linked with food. So can you give us some tools that you use to like overcome this challenge, or what people use for an excuse?
Yeah, I mean, in the beginning when it was like super hard and I still remembered how good those foods tasted and I wanted them, when if we would be sitting in the living room together, if he would start eating my favorite foods, in the beginning, I just had to leave. I either had to leave the room and go do something else, or I would take Charlie and we would go for a walk. And we went for a lot of walks. It was just easier to remove myself from the situation. So that was one thing we did, was go for a walk. The other thing in the beginning too was like, when I finally realized that he wasn't like on board with switching over to plant-based lifestyle, I'm better at like keeping my mind compartmentalized, and if it's out of sight, out of mind for me. So like I told him he had to put his food in his own, we each had, what do you call them, bookshelves with our food in it, like shelf food, you know. So he had his own bookshelf, I had mine. And to this day we have it separated like that. In the refrigerator and in the freezer, I have my shelves, he has his shelves, I have my drawers. Now my food is actually slowly starting to take over because, you know, produce takes up a lot of room. So
Yeah,
I have more
sure.
shelves than he does actually. But I just had to keep it separate, and this is my food and that is your food, and you know, I don't touch your food, and he's welcome to have mine, and he does eat mine sometimes. And he'll add more of his food to it. But so keeping it separate. And then also, like, if he would be eating, like say if he would eat ice cream, I used to love ice cream. I would make something that was plant-based that was like a substitute for it. So I would make my banana ice cream and eat that while he was eating his. So I would basically eat something that was comforting to me, but it was still plant-based. And I allowed myself to eat as much as I wanted of it, because that was like, I'm like, it's just bananas, you know, who cares if I eat all of it?
Right, right. Yeah, and I mean, how many bananas can you fit in your stomach? It's all the calorie density thing, right?
Right, right. Well, in the beginning, I was making, my favorite is chocolate cherry ice cream.
Hmm.
So I would put 4 bananas, frozen bananas, like a cup and a half of frozen dark sweet cherries, the carob powder, and like some vanilla and stuff. And I would eat it all. in
Yeah,
one day.
that's a bit. I don't even think I eat 4 bananas. I think I did 2 this morning.
I'm a
That's
volume eater, so not anymore. Like my eyes are bigger than my stomach these days, but in the beginning, yeah, I ate a lot. So
yeah.
that's how
Well,
I stayed on plan, because I allowed myself to eat as much as I wanted in the beginning. And then, you know, when you start to slow down on your weight loss, then you start to reevaluate and be like, oh, maybe I'll only eat 2 bananas instead of 4.
right, right. But I mean, that's the cool thing about this. I mean, you don't get 400 and 500 pounds by not being a volume eater. I mean, let's be
Right,
honest. And
right.
yeah, for me, it's the same thing. And honestly, I'm probably at a place now where I struggle with that a little bit. But the cool thing is, like, I just had a whole bunch of potatoes. I ate way more potatoes than I should have because I made mashed potatoes tonight.
Yeah,
And but I'm not gonna gain weight. I'm just not gonna lose weight. You know what I
right,
mean? So,
right.
you know, it's okay to eat volume as long as it's not calorically dense. What
Right.
about shopping? What do you guys do for shopping?
He shops his own and I shop on my own. Like it got to a point where um, because I was making 2 meals in the beginning, you know, I would cook something for me and then cook something for him. And then I got to the point where I was like, you know what? I'm going to cook mine. And then if you want to cook your meat or whatever and add to it, you can eat mine and do it that way. Well, then a lot of the foods I made, he didn't like, or I guess he just wasn't into it. So I said, well, I'm going to cook. You either eat what I cook or you cook your own.
Wow.
that's that's the way it is. So now if he wants to buy that stuff, he buys it and he cooks it himself.
Is that
And
how was it before that? Did you cook for both of you guys before?
before I did all the cooking, and we ate together and all that kind of stuff. And it's kind of different for me and for us, I guess, because we don't have any kids.
Hmm.
We actually work separate shifts. Like I work 7 a to 7 p, and he works third shift. So even before, like, we didn't eat all of our meals together because we just weren't on the same schedule. But we usually at least had to do one meal together, and I would cook it for both of us, and you know we would eat. But it just got to be too much, and you know when especially in the beginning when you're trying to transition and you're handling those foods for somebody else, but you're not able to eat them yourself.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I started to like resent it for a while there at first, you know. I'm like, well, I'm not going to cook this stuff if I'm not going to eat it, you know. And it
Right,
just
right.
to be, I don't know, it was too hard. So that's when I was like, you know what, you either cook what I eat or eat what I cook, or you make it yourself.
Right. Wow, that's crazy. It's
Yeah,
kind of like I cooked for myself, but then Heather and the kids would still, we did a lot of takeout. So we would be ordering food all the time. So I'd be cooking for myself and they would still bring the pizza and wings, which I love. I mean, I'm from Buffalo, right? I have to love
right.
chicken wings. And so I would have like sweet potato wedges or whatever. And what happened for us is they would start stealing my food on me, you know? And I don't know, like I don't remember, like it didn't happen in a day. It just kind of gradually, and Heather doesn't cook, so she didn't really have a choice, you know. so, so yeah, but that's awesome, and that's some super good advice. So it sounds like what you're saying is, in the beginning, it was a lot more difficult than it is now, and now it just kind of became a thing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, now it's just the way things are, and I mean, like I said, it's not like he's gradually started to try more of my stuff, it's like if he comes in the kitchen, he's like, man, that looks good, or that smells good. I'm like, well, try some of it, and there's things that he likes and there's things that he doesn't like, but he's not ready to like do it 100% or even give up the foods that he's eating now. But I think
Right.
what it really comes down to is he'll eat my food if it looks okay and he can doctor it up with his cheese and his meat and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, I guess he's better than nothing.
Right, right. But is he? It sounded like when you started, he was kind of resentful of it. Is he? Does he still have that attitude?
Um, yeah, I think so.
He's got to look at you and say, "Oh my gosh, like you are a walking miracle." Like I don't
Yeah, I don't
know,
think he looks at it that way.
really. Oh man,
uh,
yeah,
well, this documentary we have coming up, he's doesn't want any part of that. Like he doesn't really want me to do it, and yeah, I don't know what it is about it, but yeah, he didn't like any part of it. He used to say that I was abducted by aliens when I first started doing all this and like changing everything, He's like, yeah,
right,
you act like you've been abducted by aliens and now you're a tree hugger and all this kind of stuff. So,
yeah.
but
Well, I mean,
the kind
I
of,
don't. What's
I'm the
that?
kind of person though that says if somebody tells me I can't do it or you're not going to be able to do it or whatever, I'm the type of person that says watch me and I'll do it out of spite.
Right.
So it just kind of helped me to be, it kind of helped me along the way, I guess, because it helped me stay committed to myself. When I said I was going to do this, I stuck to it and did it.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, like you are like the strongest person that I know. Like I seriously, I don't know if I could do it. I don't know if I could open up. I don't know if I could have that kind of food in the house and just walk by it every day. So it definitely made you strong, and like I like so admire that about you, how strong you are. It's like you are such an inspiration. I can't even tell you. Like I don't say that to everyone either, just so you know. Like
Well, that
I
makes me
really
feel
mean
good seeing, from the man that has like, what do you got, like 50 or 100 medals behind you there?
Oh yeah,
Well, that's
yeah, yeah. But no,
right.
but seriously, I don't like. I seriously, um, I don't know. I don't know if I could do what you do. I really don't, and I mean that. And I know what it's done for me, but I don't.
Yeah.
Like I feel like, and maybe I'm wrong about this, but I feel like after, I mean, the temptation will be there so much that maybe you have one or two choices. Either it'll wear you down, or it's
Mhm.
just gonna make you stronger and stronger. That like you're invincible, really.
And that's
You
what it did for me, because it was just like I don't know, I guess I just developed this grit that was like, I'm not going to let it pull me down. And I think it's because I remembered how miserable I was before. So like anytime I would be tempted to go back and eat those foods, I would just tell myself, stop, remember, go. I would keep my fat picture on the refrigerator so that I could like go look at it and remind myself that you don't want to go back there.
right, right. Well, I cannot thank you enough for the good information. It was so nice too. It was so nice to talk to you because
Yeah, you too.
yeah, I feel like I know you on Facebook, but I've never really, I mean, I know it's just Skype, but still,
Yeah,
it's been like super cool. So
yeah,
I really, really appreciate it.
yeah, no problem.
Wow, isn't Denise amazing? It's one thing I can't even believe that she used to weigh 500 pounds. She's so awesome. But put aside the weight loss and all that stuff. To me, she's like, I have never seen a woman that's so strong. She's just so strong. And you know, to live in a household where your spouse is not only not on board and not supportive, but it sounds like he kind of antagonizes her a little bit. So he's kind of like so far on the other end of it, and you know, she totally could use that for an excuse, but she didn't. She chose not to, and I really like that we talked about that. You know, instead of making her quit, it actually made her stronger. And she's just an awesome lady. And you know, she went on to tell me, we talked a little bit afterwards, and she said that, you know, there's nothing different about her, and if she can do it, anybody can do it. So I'm pretty sure that we can take that whole excuse that my spouse isn't on board, and we can consider it
Smash.